Silverpine did not appear on most maps. It was one of those forgotten hill towns where the clouds arrived before the sun did, where the mornings smelled of pine wood and wet tea leaves, and where trains passed like strangers who never intended to stay. People came there to heal, or to disappear. During winter, fog swallowed the streets whole. The mountains stood silent like old gods watching human sorrow repeat itself again and again. And every evening at exactly 5:10 p.m., a girl in a yellow sweater sat beside the railway cafe with a book resting open on her lap. But she never turned the pages. Her name was Olivia Bennett. And for almost 2 years, she had been waiting for a train she never boarded, not because she feared leaving, but because once, long ago, someone had promised he would return on it. He never did. Yet she kept coming anyway, because hope is a cruel habit, especially when love teaches it to survive. The first time Henry Carter saw Olivia, the town was drowning in rain. The cafe windows trembled under the storm, while travelers rushed across the platform carrying umbrellas and unfinished lives. Henry stood near the tea stall, warming his hands around a paper cup of tea. He had just arrived from Prague after a photography assignment and looked exactly like the kind of man who belonged nowhere for too long. Dark coat, camera bag, tired eyes, the kind of eyes that had seen too many departures. Then the wind arrived suddenly. Pages flew from Olivia's notebook and scattered across the platform like frightened birds. One page landed near Henry's boots. He bent down to pick it up. It wasn't from a novel. It was handwritten. The ink had blurred from rainwater, but one sentence remained painfully clear. Some people arrive, only to teach us how lonely love can become. Henry stared at the line for several seconds, then he looked up. Olivia hurried toward him, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, taking the paper from his hand, but he smiled faintly. "That doesn't sound like fiction." For the first time in weeks, she laughed, not fully, not freely, but enough for him to notice how sadness softened when it forgot itself for a moment. And somehow, that became the beginning. At first, they met accidentally, or at least that's what they pretended, at the old bookstore beside Church Road, near the tulip gardens hidden behind the monastery hill, at the bakery that sold cinnamon bread every Thursday morning, at the railway station where trains arrived carrying strangers and left carrying regrets. Silverpine was small enough that two lonely people could not avoid each other forever, and slowly they stopped trying. Henry was a travel photographer. He photographed disappearing things, old towns, abandoned stations, people whose stories the world had stopped listening to. Olivia once asked him why. They had been walking beside the frozen river while snow fell quietly around them. Henry adjusted the camera hanging from his shoulder and replied, "Because disappearing things are the only things people remember forever." Olivia looked at him carefully after that, because people who spoke like that usually carried ghosts inside them, and Henry did, though it took time before he admitted it. Weeks later, while sitting inside the empty cafe during a thunderstorm, he finally told her about his childhood. His mother had died when he was 10. His father disappeared into alcoholism afterward. By 16, Henry had learned that people could leave even while standing right beside you, so he began traveling, country after country, city after city, never staying long enough to love anything, because love, to him, had always ended in abandonment. Olivia listened quietly, then asked softly, "Doesn't running get exhausting?" Henry smiled. "Not as exhausting as losing people." She wanted to tell him that avoiding love was another kind of loss, but she stayed silent, because by then she was already falling for him, slowly, helplessly, like snowfall, beautiful until it becomes dangerous. Olivia carried wounds too, but hers were quieter. Her mother had died of cancer when she was 19. After that, her father became obsessed with safety, security, stability, respectability. He wanted Olivia protected from every uncertainty life could offer, so he planned her future carefully, a respectable marriage, a stable home, a predictable life. But Olivia never wanted predictable things. She wanted stories, rainstorms, poetry, conversations at midnight, a love that felt alive. And Henry, with his wandering soul and tired smile, felt dangerously alive. One evening, they climbed the abandoned railway bridge outside town. Below them, the tracks curved through the mountains like unfinished sentences. The sunset burned orange behind the hills. Olivia leaned against the railing and asked quietly, "Do you believe some people are destined for each other?" Henry looked at the tracks below, then smiled sadly. "No," she frowned slightly. "I think some people are destined to change each other, not stay." Answer hurt more than she expected, because deep down she already knew she loved him, and love becomes terrifying the moment you realize it may not survive reality. Winter settled heavily over Silverpine that year. The lake froze, the mornings became pale and silent, and one night Olivia's father called her into the living room. A family from New York had sent a marriage proposal. The man's name was Daniel Hayes, successful, educated, wealthy, the kind of man parents proudly introduced to relatives. "You deserve security," her father told her gently. Security, Olivia hated that word instantly, because her heart wanted something far more dangerous. It wanted Henry. But what could she possibly say? That she loved a man who belonged to roads and train stations, the man who had never promised her forever, the man who looked at love like something temporary. So she said nothing, and silence became betrayal. The next evening she met Henry, he noticed immediately. "What happened?" Olivia tried smiling, but failed. "I'm getting married." The words landed between them like broken glass. For several moments, Henry said nothing. He only stared at the rain sliding down the cafe window. "When?" he finally asked. "Next month," he nodded slowly. "That's good." Good, one simple word, yet it shattered something inside her. She stared at him in disbelief. "That's all you'll say?" Henry looked away. "What do you want me to say, Olivia?" She stood abruptly. "That you love me." The cafe became silent. Even the rain seemed to pause. Henry closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them again, fear lived there, real fear. "I do," he whispered. Her breath trembled. "Then why did it hurt so much hearing it?" "Then stop me," she said. The desperation in her voice almost broke him, but Henry only shook his head slowly. "Love isn't always enough." Olivia felt tears burning her eyes. "I hate when people say that." "It's true." "No," she whispered. "It's cowardness." That word hit him hard, because part of him knew she was right. Henry loved her deeply, but love had never taught him how to stay, only how to leave before loss arrived first. That night they argued for the first time, not loudly, not cruelly, but painfully, like two people watching their future collapse while pretending to remain calm. "You think leaving hurts less than staying?" Olivia asked. Henry looked devastated. "You think staying guarantees happiness?" "No, but at least we would have tried." "If I fail you?" Olivia stepped closer. "Then fail beside me." For one dangerous second, Henry almost gave in, almost kissed her, almost chose her over fear. But fear wins most battles before they even begin, and Henry had been afraid his entire life. So instead, he whispered, "You deserve a better life than the one I can give." Olivia's tears finally fell. "You don't get to decide that for me." Then she walked away, and Henry let her. That became the greatest regret of his life. After that night, they stopped meeting. No calls, no letters, nothing. But grief is strange. It hides inside ordinary things. Olivia found Henry everywhere, in old songs playing from distant cafes, in photographs of mountains, in railway whistles echoing through fog, in every unfinished sentence. And Henry, he tried leaving Silverpine early, but every road somehow led him back to the station, back to her memory. Because some people become home long before you realize you're lost inside them. The night before Olivia's wedding, snow began falling heavily across town. She couldn't breathe inside the house anymore. Relatives filled every room. Laughter echoed everywhere. But none of it reached her heart. So just before evening, she slipped away quietly and went to the railway station one final time. The platform was nearly empty. An old tea seller cleaned glasses lazily near the cafe. The station clock ticked softly, and standing near the tracks was Henry. As if he had been waiting all along, for several seconds neither moved. Then Henry walked toward her slowly. In his hands was a small wrapped box. Olivia opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph, her photograph. Taken secretly on the very first day they met. She was laughing while chasing papers through the rain. At the back he had written, for the girl who made a wandering man wish he knew how to stay. Olivia's vision blurred instantly. "Why does love hurt this much?" she whispered. Henry smiled faintly. "Because sometimes we meet the right person at the wrong time." A distant train horn echoed through the mountains. His train. He picked up his bag, and suddenly panic flooded Olivia's chest. "Don't go," just 3 words. Henry looked at her like a man standing between love and ruin. "If I stay," he whispered, "you'll resent me one day for taking away your future. If you leave," his eyes broke completely, "you'll resent me instead." Reality destroyed the dream quietly, like it always does. Henry stepped closer, then gently kissed her forehead, not passionately, not dramatically, but tenderly, like goodbye, like apology, like love. And without turning back, he boarded the train. Olivia stood frozen as it disappeared into the snowstorm. The sound faded slowly into the mountains, until silence remained.